think about what it means. Think about what it means to you. What it means in the time in which we live. That's what I mean when I say meditate on scriptures, to contemplate and to really think about a scripture. The Most High will bring scriptures to your mind as you study the Bible consistently, and as you look at things and try to ask the Most High for the spiritual meaning of what you're reading. Ask him to guide your steps in his word. He will bring scriptures to your mind, and he will teach you in that way, because brothers and sisters, that's one of the ways he teaches us. He teaches us in his word. He teaches when we study his word. He teaches by the hearing of his word. The Bible says faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High. He teaches us by hearing of his word. He teaches us also by seeing his word in action, in object lessons. And of course, the Messiah used object lessons to teach his word many, many times. He uses seeds as sowers, and he uses seasons, and he used different situations to teach us, illustrate to us important truths of his word. So it's good on a daily basis as we pray to meditate on his word, and as we go about our daily duties, whatever we're doing, to think about his word, to think about scriptures you have read, or the Spirit will bring scriptures to you for you to meditate on and think about, and he'll teach you. The Spirit will teach you things about his word that way. So this week I was thinking about things, and my wife and I have gotten to the point, at this point in our lives, where we're thinking about perhaps looking to purchase a home sometime next year, maybe. We're thinking about possibility of purchasing our own home again next year. We've owned homes before, we've lost homes before. And my wife, it's interesting because I've always been the one to spearhead us into purchasing a home. I've always been the one to push it and to say, we got to buy, because I've always been telling my wife, we've been married, going to be 32 years this year. And I've always tell her, I hate paying, when you're paying rent, you're paying a mortgage for somebody. And my thought was always, I'd rather pay my own mortgage toward my own ownership than pay somebody else's mortgage. And that was always my argument. My wife would always think I was moving too fast, and she would be scared, and she would get nervous, and she would say, oh, maybe we need to rent a little longer, blah, blah, blah. And we'd eventually either go forward or not. But this time was different. My wife came to me and said, I'm tired of paying rent. I'm tired of renting somebody else's house. I'd rather be at least paying toward our own mortgage, which was totally surprising to me, because she never said that before. In 32 years that we've been married, she has never been the one to say anything like that. I've always been the one, and she's always trying to hold me back from moving too fast, which I've done. So for her to bring up, that was surprising to me. I was like, oh, wow. She brought it up. She said she's tired of paying rent. Now, we lost the house in 2011. That was 5 years ago. And we had to rebuild our credit, which we rebuilt it again. And so probably in the next 12 months, credit-wise, we'll definitely be in a position to purchase a home. Money's a different thing. We've never had any money. So we've always depended on the Most High to provide for us what we need as far as whatever down payment, closing cost, whatever we need. And he has in the past. So thinking about home ownership got me to thinking about the word. And I started thinking about what we really own in this world. What do we really own in this world? And we're at the time in Earth's history where you could buy a piece of property, a piece of real estate. Like you could buy a house with some land on it. When I say buy, that's an interesting term. What do you mean buy? I mean, okay, most people, when they think of buying something, they have this thing called money, right? And you have this money, this thing called money that's used to exchange, to buy, to be able to acquire something that you don't own, right? So you use this money and you buy something, and then you so-called own it, right? That's the way it works. But you think about, what are you using to buy what you're buying? Well, most people, when they think of buying in the United States, they're thinking of dollars, right? So you're using dollars to buy something. So in order to be able to buy something, you have to have some dollars. And when you look at the US dollar, it says on it, reserve note. That's what it says. It says Federal Reserve note, which means it's not really money. Like it's a representation of money. Because back in the Bible time, they actually used like silver and gold for money. Okay, that was considered money because those were precious metals, or considered precious metals of high value. And so they would use these precious metals to buy something. Somebody would trade land or whatever property they were looking to acquire with this silver or gold, right? But we don't use silver and gold. We use these things called dollars. And these dollars are supposed to be, or they used to be, representative of a certain amount of gold. So these dollars used to represent a certain amount of gold that we owned. Okay, and the dollar represented that gold. And so we buy things. But now, in 2016, well, actually from 19, the United States created this thing called the Federal Reserve Bank. And it wasn't, I can't say the United States, it was some very wealthy individuals got together and created a bank. And they got the president, Woodrow Wilson, that the United States would be getting its money printed from this bank, the Federal Reserve Bank. And this bank would print this money to the US government and charge interest on the money. Now, let me let you think about this for a second. So I'm going to print money and give it to you. And you're going to owe me what I printed. I printed it. You're going to owe that to me with interest. I have the power to print the money. You just receive it. So you have to pay me back what I printed with extra to print your own. You got to get that from me. So in other words, you'll be eternally in debt to me. You'll never pay back what you owe me. And I will therefore own you, because the Bible says the borrower is the servant to the lender. Whoever's the lender is the one that's going to be the one in charge. The borrower is a servant. The borrower is working to pay back the lender. Are you following me so far? So the Israelites, the Most High promised them that they would be lenders. Notice again, Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to read. These are among the blessings of the Most High. Deuteronomy chapter 28. I'm going to read from verse 10 down to verse 13. Deuteronomy, actually from verse 10 to verse 14. Okay? Deuteronomy 28 from verse 10 to 14. And I always admonish people, read the whole chapter of Deuteronomy 28 when you get a chance, because everything is in there. Today is in there. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Yahweh. They shall be afraid of thee. And Yahweh shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which Yahweh sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Yahweh shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And Yahweh shall make thee the head and not the tail, thou shalt be above only, thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh thy Allah, thy most high, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. Okay, so he said his people were created to serve him, obey his commandments that he commanded them to observe. And in doing so, he would bless them so that they would lend to the heathen. The word nations, when you look up the word nations, it's always Gentiles or heathen. So they're gonna lend to the Gentiles, and they're not gonna have to borrow from the Gentiles. They're gonna lend to heathen nations, and they're gonna lend on interest, and others are gonna pay them interest. They were not to charge each other interest. Israelites were never to charge each other interest. Only heathen they were supposed to charge interest to. Okay. So when we buy something today, we use these dollars. And these dollars are really debt on our nation. That's what they are. So when you spend and you buy something, you don't really own it. You think you own it, right? But really you don't own it, because whoever is owed those dollars that they were printed, they own it. So when you buy a house, you're not paying rent to a landlord per se. You're paying a mortgage to a bank. So you owe the bank. And let's say you were blessed enough to pay your house off. In other words, you paid back the bank every cent. And let me tell you something, on these 30-year mortgages, whatever your mortgage is, you're paying back the bank 3 times more than you lent, than they lent you. Okay, so if they lent you $200,000, by the time you pay them back, you're going to pay them $600,000. And if you were blessed enough to pay off your house, you still don't own it, because on your house there are what they call property taxes. Your house sits on property that you may own, but you got to pay taxes on the property. And if you don't pay the property taxes, guess what? The local government will take your house. You won't have a house. Okay? So that's the style of the world in which we live right now. If you could buy a car and you could pay off that car so you don't owe any bank money for that car, even if you're in a state that doesn't pay property taxes, you have an asset in a car that's going to eventually die. It's going to run out. It's not going to last. It's what they call a depreciating asset. It depreciates in value. It doesn't increase in value. It depreciates. It gets less and less and less until it's worth nothing. And that's about the closest you get to owning anything in this world. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that nobody should try to buy property. I'm just telling you what the true thing is in terms of ownership. Okay. So really, really and truly, anything of value on this earth, you really don't own it. Because if there's a government out there, they're going to tax you on it. And if there's a bank that you borrowed it from, you got to pay that bank back. So you really don't own much of anything. And again, I'm not suggesting that people go up and run up debt because you don't really own anything. Don't do that, because the Bible says you should always try to pay down your debt. You should owe nobody anything but love. But in this earth, in the Babylon world in which we live right now, that's almost impossible. The only way you're going to not owe anybody anything is if you don't own anything and you live outside on land that doesn't belong to anybody. If you live outside on land that doesn't belong to anybody, and you don't own a house, you don't have an apartment, then you pretty much, that's about as close to freedom as you could get. But in this world, that would be a bum, right? That'd be a homeless person. They don't own anything. They don't owe anyone anything. And they just go from place to place. That's what we call a homeless person or a bum. That's about as close as you could get to being free, though. It's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy, right? Now, the Most High set up the situation for the Israelites like this. Let's read it. In Deuteronomy, I'm going to start at Deuteronomy chapter 5. I'm going to start at Deuteronomy chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 29 down to verse 33 of Deuteronomy chapter 5. Then we're going to continue. Well, a bum is dependent on the kindness of strangers to eat, right? A bum is dependent. They would starve to death unless somebody gave them something to eat, right? They don't buy it. They don't have any money to buy it. So somebody gives it to them and then they eat, right? Okay, let's look at what it says. Deuteronomy chapter 5 from verse 29 to 33. All that the Most High says here, oh, that there was such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, he tells Moses, get you into your tents again. But as for thee, he's talking to Moses, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and statutes and judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore as Yahweh thy Allah hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which Yahweh your Elohim hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. So he tells them, if you're obedient to me, I'm going to give you land, okay? I'm going to give you a place. It's going to be your land. Now let's look at what he talked about with regard to the land. Notice what it says in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6. I'm going to read from verse 10 down to verse 14. Deuteronomy chapter 6 from verse 10 to 14. Actually, I'm going to read from verse 10 to 17. Deuteronomy 6 from 10 to 17. And it shall be when Yahweh thy most high shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things, which thou fillest not, and wells dig, which thou diggest not, and vineyards and olive trees, which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten and be full, beware lest thou forget Yahweh, the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt fear Yahweh thy most high, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods of the people which are round about you. For Yahweh thy most high is a jealous most high among you, lest the anger of Yahweh thy most high be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Ye shall not tempt Yahweh your most high, as ye tempted him in Massa. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahweh your most high, and his testimonies, and his statutes, which he commanded thee. See? So he's telling them they're going to go into a land where they didn't have to plant anything. They didn't have to build anything. They didn't have to dig anything. It's there. And it's theirs. When the children of Israel inherited this land, there were no mortgages. There was no interest. There was no supermarket. They didn't need all that. It was them. They owned it. And all they needed to do to continue to have that ownership was be obedient. Be obedient to the Most High, and they would own forever. No mortgage, no debt, no central bank, no banks at all. No need to borrow. They would lend because they would have so much. Okay? If they were obedient to his commandments. He said, oh, that they were such a heart in that they might keep my commandments always, that it might be well and with their children forever. Beware lest thou forget Yahweh, who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt. Don't serve other gods. Serve him, keep his commandments. Right? And when we get to heaven, notice what the scriptures say when we get to heaven in Revelation chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21. From verse 1 down to verse 6. Revelation, actually from 1 to 7. Revelation chapter 21 from 1 to 7. Notice what it said. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yahweh out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them and be their most high. Wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his most high. He shall be my son. Now look, brothers and sisters, the Most High is telling us he's the life giver. Yah is the life giver. So is Yahweh Shah. They are both life-giving power forces that can create life out of nothing. And they said to us, they will give us. You don't have to buy it. They will give it to you. All they're looking for us to do is be obedient to them. Be obedient to their commandments, statutes, and judgments. Enter into covenant relationship with them and be faithful to that covenant. You see, brothers and sisters, people in this earth, the devil, he tempts people with wealth, what's considered wealth in this world. See, the most powerful people on earth are the people that have money. But what money do they have? Well, the real power of people on this earth have gold. They have gold and they have it stacked up. Like the Queen of England and the Pope and the leaders of the darkness of this world, they have gold bars stacked up in vaults, man. I mean, they got thousands of pounds, thousands and thousands and millions of pounds of gold, solid gold. They've taken it out to earth, mostly from Africa. They've taken it out to earth and they stack it up. And that's the people that have power and real wealth on this earth, because they own that gold. They stole it from somebody, but they got it. Okay? Everybody else, like if somebody say you're worth $3 billion, you ain't got nothing. All you got is a bunch of dead Federal Reserve notes. Federal Reserve. You don't own nothing. You hearing what I'm saying? Somebody could be a billionaire in dollars on this earth and own nothing. Because the way this earth runs, the devil got this thing set up. Well, if you ain't got gold, you ain't got nothing. And even the people that got the gold, they got to depend on people to guard the gold, because somebody can take the gold and then somebody else has it. So they got all of us chasing dollars, right, that are worth nothing, to buy stuff that we will never really own. Isn't that amazing? The Most High is offering us a kingdom where we really will own. And the only one that we have over us is the Most High himself, who is the creator of everything we will own. And he gives it to us. Streets made of gold, mansions already prepared, trees already planted with fruit on them, water of life. And every time you drink of that water and eat of the tree of life, your eternal existence is extended farther out. And brothers and sisters, there are people that will kill you for one of these Federal Reserve notes. They will kill you. Those are people that are deluded. That's classic delusional behavior. Because they think by taking dollars from someone or robbing it or whatever they're doing, they're getting wealth. They're not getting wealth. They're getting the ability to buy some stuff, but they don't even own that. Because the dollars, even now, are not worth anything. The only thing on this earth that they have that is value is silver bars and gold bars. They get that out the ground. And like I said, the queen got her stash. The Pope got his stash in Switzerland. And the leadership of these very powerful families, they got there. They done took all the gold. We used to have gold in Fort Knox in the United States of America. That backed up all our money. That place empty. Ain't no gold there now. If it is there, it's not owned by the United States government. It's owned by the Federal Reserve as payment on them dollars they've been printed. Okay? It's a game, brothers and sisters. It's a big game. And everybody's being done. You're being taken. You're being hoodwinked. Bamboozled. But this is the thing, brothers and sisters. If we follow the Most High, see, the Most High, he really is not concerned with the Babylonian system. The Most High's concern is what we read about here. His concern is to have us trust his word. See these fake pastors out here? Fake pastors, so-called pastors, always asking you for what? What they asking you for all the time? Every time you see them, when you go into their so-called churches, what they asking you for? What they always asking you for? Money. They're asking you for money. Because see, the fake pastors know they got quote-unquote ministries and they don't have to pay taxes. And so they can buy stuff and they can live large on this earth. But they don't own anything. And they fool the public. See, if the masses of people were to understand what I just said, and they weren't following the Most High, but they were just understanding they're being hoodwinked, masses of people would get together, they would overthrow the powers of this world, they would take all their gold, overthrow. That's what would happen. But they're not going to do that because the mind, remember we talked about this last week, the mind has been hoodwinked. The powers that are working for Satan have hoodwinked, because Satan don't even have anything. He don't have nothing to give. There's nothing on this earth that he owns. Because he caused people to go and sin, he claimed ownership of this earth and he act like he owned it. But really, it's the Most High's earth, and anytime he wants to, and when he's ready to, he's going to take it back. Because the devil ain't create water. He didn't create trees, clouds, or air. The Most High did that. And when he really is ready, when he got his people prepared, devil ain't got no shot at all. He's done. He's done. And his system is done. And that's why when it comes down to it, when the seal is on the 144,000, the Bible says he's going to turn this world upside down. He's going to destroy it. And he's going to recreate it the way he planned it to be, by the plans that he designed, not the plans of the enemy. But the devil has deceived the earth into thinking he got something that he doesn't. And he got people running it that make everybody think they got something that they don't. And then he makes everybody believe you own something that you really don't own. That's really not safe. There are a large class of people in the United States of America that if that Social Security check was cut off, they'd starve to death. Are you hearing me? If that Social Security check was cut off, they would starve to death. And why? Because we have all been bamboozled. We are dependent on the government. And we don't own anything. We ask them for everything. The Most High is setting up a kingdom. We have to depend on earthly powers. We depend on the Creator, the one that created us and created heaven and earth and everything in it. We depend on the one that created breath and put it in our body. We depend on the one that is the original life giver. And he's the only one that deserves our trust. Notice what it says, Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Watch this now. Because these same promises that he gave the Israelites when they went into the land the first time are the same promises for the Israelite as we go into the land the second time, the heavenly kingdom. So notice this, Deuteronomy chapter 8, I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 11. Okay, Deuteronomy 8 from verse 1 to 11. Notice what it said. All the commandments which I command thee this day, ye shall observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh thy most high led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man does not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man live. Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. Thou shalt also consider in thy heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh thy Allah chasteneth thee. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh thy most high, to walk in his ways and to fear him. For Yahweh thy most high, good land, a land with brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of the valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olive, and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land iron, out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. When thou hast eaten and art full, when thou shalt bless Yahweh thy most high for the good land which he hath given thee, beware that thou forget not Yahweh thy most high in keeping and not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? So now, when he talks about water springing out, we talking about in heaven, we're talking about the water of life springing out. And we're going to obey his commandments because there ain't going to be no sinners on the earth. Even the Gentiles are going to be converted to the truth. We're going to have a tree of life and we're never going to die. And there's going to be no more debt, no more borrowing, no more banks. Everything is paid for by the blood of the Messiah. The devil will be dead. He won't exist anymore. There'll be no more such thing as death or evil. Remember he said, we read it in Revelation chapter 21, there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. There'll be no more death. There'll be no more debt. There'll be no more mortgages. There'll be no need for these things. All of us will be our own enterprise. We'll build our own houses. The Bible, look, let me show you that. Let me show you that. We'll build our own vineyards. There'll be stuff there, but we'll build more. Notice what it says, Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah 65. Notice what it says, Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah 65. From verse 17 down to verse 25. Isaiah 65 from 17 down to verse 25. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth. See, that's the second time in the Bible it's telling us that. For the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. And there shall be no more thence any infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, and the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people. And mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. For they are the seed of the blessed of Yahweh, and their offspring with them. It shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and the dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith Yahweh. See? So we're going to have a place where we're going to be building. Nobody's going to take it from us. We're going to share. We're going to have food. We're going to plant. There's going to be stuff growing. People can live in the woods if they want to, it says in Ezekiel. There's going to be all types of nothing but good. And there's going to be no debt. I guess my point is, let us not get too caught up in this world system. We got to live in this system, right? We all live in this system. All of us live in this system. We buy and sell in this system, okay? But don't get caught up like you own this or he owns that. Or you do, because brothers and sisters, nobody really owns anything. I'm not saying you should just walk up to somebody and take their stuff. That would be stealing, because you know that's their ownership in that regard. In other words, they bought it with whatever these fake dollars is they bought it with. It's theirs and they're in that regard. So you should respect that. But don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it. Because nobody owns nothing. Really. Not in this earth. And the Most High ordained it that way. Because we're going to have to give all this stuff up. You have an apartment, you're going to have to give it up. You got a car, you're going to have to give it up. You own a house out, you're going to end up giving it up. You have a garden, you say, oh, I'm going to be smart. I'm not going to buy from the supermarket. I'm going to grow my own stuff. Somebody's going to take it. It's going to happen. You don't own anything. Be thankful for what you have. Be thankful for what you have, and that the Most High provides for you on this earth. Be thankful. Be really thankful for that, because it could go at any time. There is no billionaire on this earth that's safe. Nah. All their stuff can go in a moment, especially now. You see, because brothers and sisters, even those Federal Reserve notes, they don't even use them anymore. They put everything now on the computer. Your wealth is measured in terms of your dollars on the computer. You can look into your bank account. You can look on your plastic card. That's where your money is. One click and it's gone. Right? One click and you can be a billionaire. Somebody can make a click, put some zeros behind your name with some dollars, and you can be a billionaire. And another click, it can disappear. Just like that. Gone. Right? People do it like that all the time. They win and lose like that all the time. It's called Wall Street. Happens all the time. Happens every day. Okay? So brothers and sisters, that's this earth. That's the way this earth is. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in its fashions. Don't get caught up in its money, because you don't own. Nobody owns anything. They just think they do. And we praise the Most High when we surrender ourselves to Him, to serve Him. The Most High Yah, He is our owner. He owns us. The Messiah has bought and paid for us with His blood. And we gladly give ourselves to Him, because why? Why? Because not only did He die for us, but He's our creator. He made everything. So we're not just giving ourselves to some other man that was created. No, the creator of all things. We give ourselves to Him. So next time some preacher's asking you for money, don't think about that. Don't waste your money giving it to some preacher so they can buy stuff. I mean, it's better to give your money to somebody that's homeless, somebody that needs food, a bum. Give your money to them. They need it. See, but they don't work, okay? But you know what? What you gonna let them starve? Give them. Bible says you open wide your hand to the poor, and the Most High will bless you when you bless the poor. Regardless. See, we always try to rationalize. The person is begging on the street because they messed up. They're a drug addict. They messed themselves up. We don't really like to think, but the truth is there are a lot of people. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. There are a lot of people on the street that worked really hard and tried their best, and the system just failed them, and they're on the street. Okay? Not everybody drank their way to the street or drugged their way to the street or partied their way to the street. No, some people worked real hard, tried their best, and it just failed. Okay? Just failed. Because this system is prone to do that. The system we live in fails people sometimes, man. It happened to me. I lost my house. I was homeless. It wasn't for the kindness of my brothers and sisters. We'd be on the street. We had nothing. And I was trying my best to make it happen. I was trying my best to pay my bills, trying my best to make the dollars. Those Federal Reserve notes. But I didn't make enough of them. And I didn't make them fast enough. Lost my house with my children and my wife. It happens, brothers and sisters. There are people on the street that tried their best, and the system of life just beat them down. Most of them are black people, and it just beat them down. And they gave up. Got tired of fighting, gave up. Okay? But we don't judge people like that. We don't know their background. When I walk the road, and I'm going to put a Facebook post up, you're going to see all the homeless people that I see when I go to work. I'm going to put it up there. When I see all these homeless people, I don't have time to look at them and say, oh, this one was there because he just messed himself up, or this one is on heroin, and that's why. Look, man, if you got a dollar in your pocket and they asking you for it, give it to them. Don't make any judgment. You can't judge them. Pocket, and they asking you for it, and they say these, give it to them. And if you feel like you want to give them something to eat, give them something to eat. Go buy them something to eat then. But you can't judge them. Because this world, nobody owns anything. But without the grace of the Most High, you'd be them. So would I, right there. Without the grace of the Most High, you'd be right there. Okay? But what happens, we start to trust in this system. We start to trust in these Federal Reserve notes. We start to trust in this, whatever degree of wealth we think we have. But you don't own nothing. It's futile. If you were to bust your butt and pay off whatever dollars you owe to whatever bank you owe it to, whether it be in credit cards or a house or car, at the end of it, okay, you don't have to pay a bank. Nothing. Your stuff can be taken at any time. It can be taken. Whether legally or illegally, it can be taken. If somebody could take it from you, they could just take it, right? Whether you got jacked for your car and it's gone and you never see it again and it was paid for, all they could do is say, sorry, we'll look for it. We'll try to find it. But hey, it's gone. It could be taken. You understand? Let us put our trust in the commandments and statutes of the Most High. Let us put our trust in the Messiah, who the Most High set forth to be our high priest and cause us to overcome all sin. Let us hope and look for the kingdom of the Most High, where we won't owe anybody anything. See, there are people that say, what about this earth? I want my kingdom here. They're fools. Unless you got gold, unless you're in the upper echelons of the powers of darkness of this world, you ain't getting nothing. You can have billions of dollars. You see all these athletes making millions of dollars. You think they got something? They don't have nothing. That stuff could be gone today. Today. That's right. Wherever you go to any woods, live acre, you could try your best. When I was in Roanoke, Virginia, we saw people live in the woods. There are people in southern country, states of the United States. There are poor people, and most of them are white. They live in the woods. I see most of them that I saw was white, and they live in a tent, and they hunt deer, and that's how they live, man. And they don't own nothing, and they stink. They don't wash. You wouldn't want to be around them, but that's how they live. There are people that live like that. They just dropped out of society. That's how they live. And brothers and sisters, so again, the point, put your trust in the Most High. Don't trust in this world system. Yeah, you got to live in this world system because the Bible says you should obey Caesar as long as it doesn't cross with the Most High's word. So yeah, you live, you work, you earn what you can, right? You earn what you can, because the Bible says if a man don't work, he shouldn't eat. So you earn what you can, but don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it. Don't start to put your trust in it. Because it's here today, gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. There's always somebody above you on this planet that will take it. Trust in the Most High. He's going to give us a kingdom that nobody can take. He's going to give us a kingdom that will never be threatened. We won't owe anything. And we'll have all we want. The Bible said, we just read it in Deuteronomy 8, we will eat bread without scarceness. Praise the Most High. Without scarceness. That's what we want. Amen.